Saito is a hopeless loner whose rich grandpa just flipped his life upside down, forcing him to marry the hottest, baddest girl in school. Sounds like a dream, right? Wrong. The plot twist? She's the one girl he can't stand. Now, it's a battle between keeping his fortune or spending a lifetime clapping cheeks with his worst enemy. The story begins with our protagonist, Saito, walking past a bunch of students who are impressed to see him ranked first in their class. And unlike me, who fails in all subjects, and still somehow thinks I can survive in life, he is currently a normal 18-year-old high school student who can't seem to understand what's so interesting about looking at other people's ranks. Ah yes, the humble genius archetype, casually crushing everyone's dreams without even trying. Just then, he notices a shorty named Akane walking toward him, followed by her grabbing his tie, furious at him for not studying yet still placing above her. Bro, the tie grab? That's some mafia-level intimidation right there. Akane's out for blood, he questions, if just reading the books once isn't enough for her, making her wonder about the kind of photographic memory he has. Or at least Akane doesn't have any. Poor girl can't catch a break. She complains about Saito's face. Following that, Akane trails Saito all the way to his class, where she confronts him for not taking the class diary seriously. Of course, she's the class diary police. Someone's gotta keep the order. Right, the two of them start arguing like it's their full-time job, and eventually Saito gets tired of it. He hits her with a, "You're such a pain," he asks oof. That's the verbal equivalent of stepping on a landmine naturally. This makes Akane even more furious than she already was. If looks could kill, Saito would be a ghost by now. Meanwhile, Saito starts reminiscing about how the two of them have been fighting ever since they were little kids. Then a big melon mommy, yes, you heard that right, appears, pulling Akane into her voluminous assets. Talk about a soft landing. If there's ever a safety hazard for anger issues, this is it. She gently advises Akane not to go so far and wonders aloud why she's always fighting with him. Akane, still fuming, snaps back that just seeing Saito's god-awful face makes her angry. Wow, poor Saito. Dude's just trying to exist, and his face is public enemy number one. Meanwhile, Saito's cousin Shai enters the scene and begins calming the poor lad down. Melon Mommy Hamari, not one to miss an opportunity, throws a curveball. She asks if Akane's giving him this much attention because she's interested in him. This statement leaves both Akane and Saito utterly shocked. Akane furiously denies it, saying she wouldn't go out with Saito even if he were the last man alive. Saito, of course, mirrors her declaration, repeating the exact same sentence. Eventually, Saito is on his way home when he gets a call from his grandfather. Grandpa invites Saito over for tea, but Saito, being the rebellious teen he is, refuses. He's got important business involving some ahem adult magazines. Priorities, right? Who needs family bonding when you've got culture waiting at home? But Grandpa isn't having any of that nonsense. He casually reminds Saito that he's set to take over the family company one day. Ah yes, the good old guilt trip. Nothing motivates like you're the future CEO, now get in the limo before long. A sleek limo pulls up right next to him, and Saito is left with no choice but to hop in. The driver, looking apologetic, explains that the family business was on the verge of collapsing, but was saved thanks to Grandpa's genius. After arriving at the restaurant, Saito coincidentally bumps into Akane. She's not about to let him off easy and starts pestering him again, determined to get an apology for his bad attitude. Akane really said, "We're taking this argument to overtime." Pal Saito, on the other hand, tells her not to interrupt his very important reading time. My man really values his literature. Doesn't he? Their bickering gets cut short when their grandpa rolls up in a hypercar with an old lady in town. Yes, Grandpa is that guy pulling up like a billionaire in a Fast Furious movie. Both Saito and Akane are left stunned to realize the old hag is actually their grandma. Inside the restaurant, rich Grandpa kicks things off with a toast for this special day. Did Saito forget his own birthday or something? Saito naturally starts racking his brain, wondering what day it could possibly be. But meanwhile, Akane, ever the queen of sass, requests a refill on orange juice, no less. Saito seizes the opportunity to mock her for drinking something sophisticated, not missing a beat. Akane snaps back that just seeing his face made her lose her appetite. These two are like fire and gasoline, one spark, and it's a full-blown inferno. The argument flares up again, as expected. Grandpa, watching the chaos unfold, just smiles and comments on how close they are. Saito, annoyed and suspicious, finally asks why they were called here. After exchanging a knowing glance, the geezers drop the bombshell. They want Saito and Akane to tie the knot. This statement leaves both Saito and Akane flabbergasted. Yeah, you could probably hear their jaws hitting the floor from across the room. Naturally, they both start arguing about this absurd idea with their grandparents, and Saito's grandpa, clearly relishing the drama, reveals that he and Akane's grandmother go way back. Turns out, they were in love but never got the chance to marry. This is like the ultimate missed connection story. Grandpa's over here pulling a Romeo and Juliet, minus the tragic ending. Both of them married other people, and, tragically, lost their spouses a few years ago. This made them think that things might have been better if they'd married each other back then. Now, they want their grandchildren to fulfill their unspoken wish. Kane's grandmother, practically throwing a guilt trip grenade, asks, "Won't you marry Saito for me, Akane?" Of course, bursts out and argues that marriage is about finding the person you truly love. Saito, clearly not buying into this forced marriage nonsense, also refuses, reminding them that in Japan, you can't just force someone to get married, and then. Their grandparents start laughing. To solve this wild problem, Saito's grandpa calls in a goofy dog. Yes, you read that right, a dog. This is the part where you realize you're in a manga, not reality. Grandpa's really pulling out all the stops today. He tells Saito that if he refuses to get married, the dog will take over the family business instead because, apparently, the dog can sign paperwork using its paw as a seal. Saito, understandably, argues that a dog can never make contracts. Grandpa just casually agrees, saying that if they go down that route, the business will be doomed. Saito, now fully convinced that his grandpa has lost his mind, questions him. Have you completely lost it? Honestly, I would too. A dog as CEO? Meanwhile, Akane's grandma also pulls her aside, whispering some disturbing things in her ear. In the end, Grandpa gives Saito and Akane 3 days to think about it. Oh yeah, because a deadline always helps in a situation this ridiculous, but even at this point, there's no way Akane can accept someone like Saito as her husband. Currently, Saito is having a wet dream about Akane calling him husband. Well, that's one way to wake up, but just when he's about to get down to business, Akane switches it up and gets furious at him. Talk about a mood killer. This sudden change causes Saito to wake up with a jolt, muttering to himself, "What a dreadful morning, can't blame him, that dream turned into a nightmare." Real quick, the reason he had such a dream is pretty clear. It's all because of the chaos from yesterday. With all the marriage pressure, it's no wonder his mind's running wild. Although he wants to take over his grandpa's business, no matter what, marrying a succubus like Akane seems like a nightmare he doesn't want to face. Arguing for decades in the same house? Yeah, that sounds like a one-way ticket to insanity. Eventually, Saito arrives at school and tries talking to Akane, but she gives him the cold shoulder. And here we thought they might actually have a civil conversation. Nope, this surprises Shicey, as she's never seen Saito try to talk to Akane on his own before. Saito just brushes it off, telling Shicey it's all in her imagination and runs off. Classic Saito, always deflecting. That's one way to keep things from getting awkward later that day. He runs into Akane again in the hallway and notices her looking at the scholarship program. The plot thickens. What's Akane scheming this time? After noticing Saito, she begins walking away, but he stops her and asks what her grandma said to her back then. Akane replies that it has nothing to do with him, but Saito presses on, mentioning that both of them need to know what cards the other side is holding. The tensions are rising. They're playing a game, but neither side's showing their hand, yet Akane tells him not to look deeply inside her heart and runs away. The next day, Saito is stressed over the whole situation and notices Shai staring into his soul. After class, Saito is preparing to leave when suddenly, Hamari opens the classroom door. Cue the dramatic entrance with no other choice. Saito is forced to hide under the desk, where he finds Shai playing with her puppets. She invites him to play with her. I'm sure Saito's thrilled. Meanwhile, Akane asks him what she would do if her family forced her to marry someone she didn't like. Oh, it's getting deep now. Akane's dropping some serious questions. She replies that she'll turn it down because she already likes someone. Plot twist. Akane might have a secret crush? Or is she just playing mind games? She then questions Akane if she has someone he likes, but as expected, she has no one. This results in Hamari suggesting that Akane get married because splitting the living cost is more convenient. Akane starts murmuring something. Looks like Akane's got her own ideas brewing. The main thing Akane is worried about is doing all those erotic things. Well, that's one way to make marriage sound. Daunting at the same time, Shai decides to go home. But Saito stops her, saying it'll be quite troublesome if a confirm eavesdropping. Sato's trying to keep a low profile, but with this bunch, nothing's ever simple. Himari, ever the bold one, tells Akane that she might need to pop out 100 children if it's a family order. Akane, obviously freaked out, says that's impossible. Yes, but Himari, ever the pragmatist, replies that she might be able to do it if she can have 10 at once. Talk about thinking outside the box. I guess she then asks Akane if they are talking about her, causing Akane to freak out and quickly say that it's just an example. Sure Akane, sure Himari, not missing a beat, says that if it ever happens to her, she'll lend her the Playboy magazine. Oh Himari, always ready with the interesting solutions. Akane, flustered, mentions that she doesn't need that stuff and runs out of the class. On the other hand, Shai tells Saito that he's been acting strangely, as when something is bothering him, his forehead wrinkles. Eventually, Saito ends up telling her the situation but keeps the marriage part out of it. Of course, the marriage part is the juicy detail he leaves out. Saito's keeping that one under wraps. Shai questions if he prefers to live freely or inherit the company, to which he replies that he wants both. Shai, ever the realist, says that he's being greedy and that no living thing can ever be truly free, as the world is full of rules. Ouch, the truth hurts. Shai's got a point. Freedom's a bit of a fantasy, she tells him. The best he can do is not run away from the rules but use them to his advantage. Wise words. Saito better start thinking like a strategist. Furthermore, Shai says she is aware that in order to make his dreams come true, he must inherit the company and promises to always be there for him. Shai's loyalty is the real deal. Looks like Saito's got some backup after all. The following day, the teacher hands over the career preference survey. Looks like someone's planning ahead. But I doubt anyone is thinking about career goals right now after school. Both of them go outside, where they find a limo waiting for them. Soon after, they arrive at Saito's grandfather's place, and he questions the path they will take. Surprisingly, both of them agree to get married to each other. Akane lets him know that she's not doing this because she likes him, or anything. Classic Akane, always keeping it real. But damn, that's cold. The grandparents are filled with joy, as if this was the best thing to ever happen. I mean, for them, maybe it is. For everyone else, we'll see after that. Saito says they will proceed with the ceremony after they graduate from college. Yeah, let's just put it off until the last minute, because that's totally not awkward, but the cultured geezers want them to perform the ceremony right now. Grandpa's like, what's the holdup? At the wedding bells ringing already soon after, they are taken to their new house and are told that the house was constructed as a love nest for both of them. Akane lets him know that she will never forgive him if he does anything pervy. Well, that's one way to set boundaries. But who can blame her? But Saito is too shocked to hear anything. There are two ends here. Will Saito survive this forced romance, or will they just clap? Guess we'll find out soon.